There are some weapons early on you can get in Black Myth Wukong that come with some very interesting effects. We're gonna talk about the best weapons in the early and mid game, which means chapter 1 to chapter 3. We're going to try to go over the best options, how to make the most out of them, so let's jump right in. But by the time you finish chapter 1 and go slightly into chapter 2, you already have two pretty good solid rare options. This includes the Wind Bear Staff and the Cloud Pattern Stone Staff. So they kind of achieve slightly different things. The first one, which you get by defeating the Bear Staff and then crafting it with the item you just got, you're going to get a 4% critical hit chance. And the attack is not too bad, 50, but there are some better options. You're not going to make the most out of the critical hit chance at this point, but it's going to give you a very good effect on the Unveiling Strike when you perform the Cloud Step. You basically deal considerable amounts of damage with the critical hit chance increase that you get from it. It's also not expensive to craft. You only need to defeat a bunch of Yao guys and you're going to have most of the items needed to craft this. Pretty solid option, but there are some better ones coming. And the next one is going to be the Cloud Pattern Stone. Now this is something that I really liked. It has slightly higher attack, and I believe in the early stages having higher attack is better than having critical chance, since you don't have much of that at that stage. But it also comes with some extra 30 into defense, which is pretty huge at that point, and it also increases the damage executed by charged smash heavy attacks. So the smash stance, in my opinion, is one of the best until you get some of the other staves that enhance the pillar and the thrust stance. So in the meantime, this is actually going to help a ton. The defense on it being 30 at that stage is very helpful, and you get that nice damage from the charged heavies. Plus, this is also going to eventually lead into another amazing legendary staff later down the line called the Staff of Blazing Karma, which also sets enemies on fire. So it's something that you should evolve right away. Now also in the second chapter, you're going to start unlocking some epic quality versions, and these are going to be much stronger and also provide some unique effects. One of them is by just straight up finishing chapter 2 and defeating Yellow Wind Sage. This is going to give it the option to now craft and also have one of the mats needed for the Red Sage Staff. And this comes with a very good 66 into attack, it's a 7% critical hit chance, and it's basically the next upgrade to the Wind Bear Staff. So if you really liked that, this is going to be the upgrade from it that you really need. But this is going to give you a very special effect. Basically, your 4th light attack combo as well as the mobile staff spin are now going to have this sort of sand effect on them that increases attack range and the damage on the staff. You're going to see that physically appearing on that 4th combo attack as well as always when performing the mobile staff spin. So this is actually going to help a ton with the range. There are many enemies that tend to move a lot, especially as you start moving into chapter 3. So this is going to help you increasing that range and reaching them a little bit better. In terms of especially hitting them, like if you want to go in and just create a lot of focus with the mobile staff spin, as that's a very good strategy against bosses. You can do that a little bit better with it. Your other option in chapter 2, assuming that you have the build or well the nerves for it, is to defeat the 2 red and black long bosses behind the waterfalls to get the components needed to craft the long wreath staff. Because if you do this, this is going to be probably the best option overall in chapter 2, and this is going to start opening up the pillar stance to make it a lot more interesting to you. So not only does it have the highest attack rating of them all by 70, it's also going to increase the damage dealt by all your pillar stance moves. And like I said before, Sweeping Gale is probably one of the best options in terms of continuous damage, again assuming that you can survive, have enough stamina, and enemies stay in place. But otherwise, very good option, plus it also buffs Churning Gale, which can be just as good. It's also a direct upgrade to the Twin Serpent Staff, so you do need to have crafted that after defeating that chapter 1 white-clad annoying serpent enemy, but again, super worth it and really awesome. Now, once you move into chapter 3, this is where things become a lot more interesting. And once you defeat Kang Jinglong, which is your first dragon boss in the area, you're going to unlock the Kang Jin staff. Now, I went ahead and tested this, and it's actually pretty good. It's going to be better than the previous long wreath, and specifically, it's going to give you 70 attack and additional 6% critical hit chance on top, but it's also going to make Punishing Downpour to execute thunder damage to the enemy instead of area damage. Now, in terms of area damage, it still seems to deal AoE damage on the last light combo hit. Basically, you do need to have unlocked the punishing downpour, which is going to make it so that after 6 successful hits with the first 4 moves of the light attack combo, your light attack finisher deals extra area damage. But it's still going to deal some area damage if enemies are close by anyway, except now your attacks are going to be powered up by electricity, specifically right there on the second last spin and on the last jump attack finisher. Both of them are going to get that bonus electric damage. And the thing I like this is that electric damage is really awesome. This is a pure crit sort of damage dealer. It's going to help a ton with the damage, and if you can make some build up with electric on the enemies, the shock debuff is going to further increase the damage you deal on them. Now, this isn't going to have like the biggest build-ups of them all, but it's going to help a ton that it comes with some basic bonuses that are very strong. Now, if you want to bring this a step above, there is technically one thing you can do, and that is to get the long scale battle robe. We actually have not talked about this 3-piece armor set, but it can actually buff all of that thunder damage by a lot, especially if you upgrade this to mythical quality. Now, this is something that you get from Kangjing Star, which is basically that turtle boss that you have to fight, and then you get to unlock this and upgrade it. And by default, it has only a 3-set bonus, which massively reduces duration of shocked state and increases thunder damage. But if you upgrade this to mythical, it's also going to get a further increase in thunder damage, and also the battle robe gives Vengeful Mirage, a buff that causes Thunder Bane. So basically, every time you do a perfect dodge, assuming that you have Vengeful Mirage, your clones that left behind are going to explode, dealing and causing that shock buildup. And this, by the way, works really well. It does buff up that damage too. And by the way, you can also just follow up after your initial spin around that already powers up electricity to your staff. You can actually follow up with a charged heavy, and that's also going to benefit from the electric damage. It seems that's going to apply it as well, and you can definitely use that playstyle. You actually get 2 more hits instead of just 1, as you would with the normal light combo chain. However, by far the best weapon in the early to mid game is probably going to be the Chubai Spear by far. Now, this is what you get after defeating those 3 captain enemies and then returning back to the 3rd prince in the lower pagoda. So you do need to have defeated all of those bosses over there and come back to get the spearhead, the Chubai Spearhead needed to craft the weapon. But like I said, this was my favorite of them all. Not only does it have that 75 attack, which I believe puts it at the highest ranking in terms of damage of all the epic options we have, but it's going to integrate a different set of techniques into your light attack combos. Basically, you have a series of pokes and attacks that work really great with the thrust stance. In fact, it's going to increase the damage that you deal with all attacks as long as you just stay in the thrust stance move. This is now going to let you jump into enemies and get out of combat really quickly, because you both have a very good gap closing ability via the normal attacks with the spear, but you can also use the tactical retreat in the offense and defense, basically from the thrust stance, and you kind of do this back and forth dance that just destroys enemies. It also integrates some of the special attacks that you already have via the thrust stance. So overall, I would say that this is by far the best option in there that like just carries you way into chapter 4. You can even bring this into chapter 5 and it's still going to be viable over there. Now, theoretically, there is a legendary staff that's given to you from chapter 3, but realistically, you can only craft this in chapter 4. So that's going to be the Spike Shaft staff, which you get by defeating the final boss of chapter 3. This is also going to drop the Cosmo Radiance that you need to craft it, and the remaining stuff you're going to need to get from chapter 4. However, I still think it's worth mentioning because it's going to let you start the next chapters with a bang. So this is the Spike Shaft staff. It comes with 80 attack, and the unique effect is going to let you continuously gain focus for a brief moment after seeing through the enemies. So this is basically a smash stance build staff. This is going to help a ton with the resolute counterflow. Like I said before, if you perform it right as the enemy is about to land a hit on you, you're going to see through their attack, nullifying it completely and following up with a much stronger heavy attack. So this is going to be very good playstyle early on. There are many enemies following that you can take advantage of, and this is going to help a ton with it. It is going to be a pretty decent option, but I wouldn't say it's going to make that much of a difference compared to the Chubai Spear. I still think that one is going to overall give you the best bang for the buck. So at this stage, I would honestly not bother with the spike shaft staff unless you completely bypassed the 2x spear and want to go for the next. Now, technically, there's another staff that we haven't covered. This is from chapter 1, though technically it is the lowest in terms of attack rating. However, it comes with a very interesting effect. So this is the one that you get from defeating the white-clad serpent boss in chapter 1, and it's going to moderately increase the damage of light attack combo finishers, and that effect is massively enhanced when fighting in water. However, I do have a couple of problems with this. On one side, it's not that great, to be honest, plus you're not going to fight that much into water, especially if you go into chapter 3 and then 4. Even in chapter 2, there aren't many bodies of water, maybe with the exception of 2, and even by then, this massive effect is still not going to be worth it in terms of, well, other upgrades that you have along the way, like the staves that we're going to cover in just a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Let me know down below which one of these is your favorite. We're gonna follow soon with the best weapons in the entire game. I got a special video waiting for that, but of course that's going to include a lot of endgame stuff. So if you want to see more of that, let me know down below in the comments. In the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.